The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Mary set out and traveled to the hill country in haste, to a town of Judah, where she entered the house of Zechariah and greeted Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the infant leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth, filled with the Holy Spirit, cried out in a loud voice and said, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. And how does this happen to me, that the mother of my Lord should come to me? For at the moment the sound of your greeting reached my ears, the infant in my womb leaped for joy. Blessed are you who believed that what was spoken to you by the Lord would be fulfilled." The Gospel of the Lord. We are finally here, the fourth Sunday of Advent. The Advent wreath is fully ablaze, especially that front candle, it's really cranking. And we are in what I like to call the O times. The O times of O Come, Emmanuel. And for those of you that may not be familiar with that song is actually a compilation of a series of verses that the church sings every evening prayer or Vespers, 7 days leading up to Christmas. They're called the O antiphons. And someone very clever in the 18th century took all those individual antiphons and combined them into one song. And the reason the church sings these O antiphons leading up to the day of Christmas is because they remind us of the titles of Christ foretold in the Old Testament. And there's a different one for each day. And today's O antiphon for this Sunday, this year, happens to be O Rex Gentium, O King of the Nations. This year and today, the church invites us to think about the coming of our King. The fact that in just a few days, the King of the Nations is coming to us. And so what does that mean? And what does that look like for us? Well, in ancient times, when there was the coming of a king, if you were in a town or a city and the king was coming to you, there was a lot of preparation work done. So the whole city would be clean. The streets would be swept clear of any dirt and debris or mess. There would be parades set up. Festivals would be prepared. Everybody would take off work. Shops would be closed. The whole city would be preparing for this coming of the king. Now, we don't have anything quite as comparable in our time. You might think of maybe something like a big parade, like a 4th of July parade where the whole town is preparing. Or perhaps occasionally we have a very special dignitary come through town and sections of a highway are closed down. There's a big preparation and parade for that. But the coming of the king was a big deal. There was a lot to prepare for. But the coming, ironically, of this king that we're foretold about is going to come in a slightly different way, in a bit more humble of a manner. In the first reading from today, the prophet Micah reminds us and indicates that this coming will be a little bit different. Micah reminds us that this king, the coming of the king, will arise from the smallest of the tribes of Judah, from a small and unexpected little group, not necessarily with big hoopla and parade. And in the gospel today, Luke sort of describes what the procession of the king is like to us, what his coming into this world is like. In today's gospel from Luke, we have the excerpt from just after the Annunciation. So just after that moment when Mary said yes to God and accepted Christ in her womb, and when Christ became man and entered into her body, she then sets out on a journey. She goes, it says, in haste to a small town in Judah. And so Christ is going in a perfect entourage, but it's a little bit different than maybe would have been expected. Rather than a large parade, he's paraded just with his mother. And the text doesn't say this, but I imagine St. Joseph was probably there as well, maybe leading her on the donkey that she was traveling on. And so this little parade goes quietly and silently up through the hillside, winding along the curves, to a small town, to a small house in Judah. And it's in this house that they enter, that the king comes and is greeted. And it's St. John the Baptist who gives us the greatest example today for how to greet our king. It says that he leaped for joy. Little as he was, he sets for us and for his family this example, to have this great joy at the coming of the king. He leaps so much that he surprises his mother and causes her to respond with great joy, because the king has arrived. Little as he is at this moment, there's much that we can learn from John the Baptist. And so we might ask ourselves, how can we prepare to receive Christ with joy like John the Baptist? How can we model this joy in our families, with our friends, in this day, at this time? Because indeed the King is coming in just a few days. And we don't want to miss it. We don't want to be distracted by the things of the world, distracted by all that's happening around us, all the many good events, the travels, all that comes with this time. We must make sure that, like John the Baptist, in a little way, we are prepared to bring much joy into our families. We don't want to miss out. We don't want to risk being distracted and going, well, maybe we'll take time one day next week. No, we must prepare. Pray for the grace to have the great joy of John the Baptist, to receive the Christ child, because he does want to come. He is coming directly into your house. We don't have to watch from a distance. We don't have to watch as the king goes by in a parade. No, he is coming right to your house, to your family, to enter into your heart and your home. So we must prepare. Take time, perhaps, in these next couple days, if necessary, prepare your heart and your soul. Go and seek confession. Clean your house. But at the same time, do not be ashamed at whatever order your house might be in, because he is coming. Just prepare to welcome him as you are, because the great King of the nations will be here very soon. He wants to come to reign in your life, and to be your great King.